We are and always will be a nation of immigrants.
This is my country, my damn country. Give me my country, you can keep the rest.
Bold men and women yearning for freedom and opportunity who leave their homelands and come to a new country to start their lives over.
We were strangers once too.
My country, my damn country. Give me my country.
Hi everyone, this is With the Aliens Podcast and I'm your host, Sasha Kapustina. In this episode, the second part of the conversation with Amrita Thadani, the founder of Neococo, a mission-driven apparel company that hires women refugees and displaced women who embroider Neococo shirts by hand. We talk about how Neococo has nothing to do with cocoa. We talk about the power of the female body and the image of the female body. Shout out to Naked Athena of Portland. And of course, we talk about how Amrita started her company and how running a for-profit social impact company is like running two companies at the same time. I'm just in awe of how much work and how much care Amrita puts into this. And I really hope that over time, more entrepreneurs think of their businesses as mission-driven and human well-being driven rather than pure bottom-line driven. That's my hope, and here's my chat with Amrita. You were telling me about how you have always kept kind of that immigrant situation and people not being able to get to work and progress in their careers because their immigration status.
And then at that point, when it's always been at the back of my mind and, it's been this constant discussion with like friends and relatives and a lot of other people in the community that are going through the same process, and like we just deal with it like 1 month at a time, or like 6 months at a time. And it's like, oh, okay, fine. At least we have the job for like the next 1 year or like 3 years and stuff like that. So it's like, you're just, going with the flow. So since this conversation has always been around, and that's the time when the whole Syria refugee issue was. And obviously I started like thinking, I was like, can you just imagine like what must be happening to these people who are in transit from one country to another, and what happens to their status or what happens to their education and what happens to women who are traveling with kids. And, so maybe like as a social impact, because obviously as an immigrant, that's always been like at the back of my mind, how different people from different countries have to wait a different periods of time to get their visa, and how that work visa translates into a green card, and how that green card eventually translates into being a citizen of the United States. And for a lot of countries, it's such a long waiting process. And I know that for Indians especially, it could be anywhere between 6 years to, even 15 years. So I've
heard that for H-1B visas, they can be like 70 years, 50 years wait.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's that long. Maybe I'm
depending on region.
Right. Maybe, maybe I'm just trying to be positive and say 15 years, but I've been in the country 10 years and we haven't got our green card yet. So that's definitely a really long process, and it changes. I mean, if you look at 10 years in a human life, and at the time that a lot of immigrants come into the country is obviously at a time when you are applying to schools and colleges and when you're starting your career. So like, it's not easy during that time for you to jump jobs, especially in an economy like what it is right now, where companies are not willing to do the process for you. And a lot of companies don't understand the process, unless they have a huge percentage of Indians working in their companies. So they're used to doing it for a lot of their employees, but smaller companies and startups that are not used to it, and they're not willing to do the process. So it's not, that's the time period in a person's life when they're looking for that dream job, when they're supposed to be like working and they're supposed to be like growing, like something like that just shuns that growth, and does not give you the options or the possibilities of saying, oh, maybe I should try applying to this company. You're just you're stuck in that one place.
Yeah.
And you just like keep working there because the company's already doing the process for you.
Yeah.
And it's not easy for you to just jump and leave, So a lot of, and that's the time in your life where you're jumping from one job to another, making more money, like growing as an individual, growing in your career, and then after 7 years, after 10 years, you realize you're like, geez, I've just been working with this one company. And then eventually when you get your green card, like you're not anywhere close to, any sort of growth when it comes to applying for another job in a different company, because you don't have that pace of growth and experience as other people have.
Yeah.
So I just think it's such an important time to be growing.
Yeah.
And that's the time that, you're waiting for that H-1B, for the visa or for the green card. You're just waiting, and it shuns a lot of growth career-wise for a lot of people.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that being said, so I knew what the process was, and I always had it at the back of my mind because we are going through it as a family, and we know so many friends that are going through something similar, and it's just hard to think of like immigrants when they are coming into the country and what they have to go through, and what kind of jobs they have to settle for, and the families that they have to like take care of. And then when you start thinking about refugees and displaced families that have moved into this country. So it's been like this dialogue at home, with me and my husband, and I was like, oh my God, I can't even like imagine what is happening to these people. And then I started doing a little more research in terms of like, reaching out to resettlement agencies and like reading up on the IRC, and seeing how they were helping communities of refugees and displaced families, and helping them with like their paperwork and getting them from war-stricken countries to like countries like the United States or countries in Europe where it was a safer, better life for them. And as I started researching, I got a chance to, and this was a really slow process. Like I think I was for 2 years, that's what I was doing. I was just educating myself on how, because I had to meet like real families to understand what the issue was, just reading it and listening to things in the media was not enough.
And so was it at that point that you already knew that you wanted to start a business that would
No. At that point, I was just educating myself, and I had no idea I wanted to start a business, but I knew that I wanted to be involved in some way and, maybe just meet with them and see how we can help them. So that's how I started reaching out to these organizations, and then slowly started having opportunities to meet these families. And I met 2 or 3 families, and everyone had a different story. Some people had moved here, and the entire it was an easy process for some of them. For some it was not so easy. So it was interesting to like see how they were being moved from one country and which organizations were helping them. And a lot of times when the organizations, like when they introduce you to the families, obviously like they are present, they're there for the first introduction. So you get like an all-round view of what is going on, where the families are, and the organizations are able to have someone to translate for you if they don't understand or speak the language, and like explain to you exactly what went on and where they need help, because a lot of times, like even though they're in the country, the most important help that they need is like money, but they're not just going to ask for money. I think it's more like us even talking to them and like trying to figure out like what kind of a job would you like to do. Like a lot of women, when they met me, they didn't even realize that hand embroidery could be something that would be a job for them. They just thought of it as a skill that they did, that they used to mend clothes or do alterations on trousers and basic clothes at home. So they never thought of it as a skill that would be able to get them money. So the more I started meeting with them, eventually we reached a point where we had a large enough group, and I had enough support from the organizations to create a workshop for these women to come in. And we just started by hand embroidering like flowers or just something, and using that, eventually we realized that it could develop into something much more. And that's when I got the idea, and I was like, okay, I think we should use this to create something, because I already had a background in fashion, and I understood that how people saw hand embroidery as a very expensive couture feel to it. But for these women, it was just, a basic skill that they all knew growing up. It wasn't even something that they would maybe use. They just used it for simple things at home too. Like I said, like to mend clothes or alter clothes.
Right.
Yeah. So it was interesting to use that and then make it into something where they could work from home and even earn money from it.
That's so cool. So how did you put it together?
Like I said, it was a slow process. Like we started with the workshops, and we had workshops every weekend with these women. And a lot of times, we would meet at someone's house, or like one of the organizers from the organization would invite us to their place, and we would meet with the women, and they would just have tea and coffee with a little bit of snacks on the table.
So it was a social kind of thing.
Yeah, it was more like a social kind of thing. And I feel like at the beginning, we just wanted to get them all together, because we knew that by meeting each other, they would have similar stories to discuss with each other. They would find friends within each other, within that group, and they would kind of form a community of like-minded women. Because when they come here, they are helped with housing, but they don't necessarily get to live, you know what I mean? Like it's not like they're living in a community
of course not. Yeah.
People that have been through the same ordeal. So they help them find housing, but the housing could be anywhere. It could be really away from the rest of the community with whom they belong, or whom they would want to live with. So once we started meeting, like the whole point of those meetings was just to have them meet each other. And the organization, like anyone from the organization, whoever helped us set up these meetings, they were really nice about it. They were like, hey, why don't we just have it at our place? It would be, and they thought of it as like a good way to get the women together and see how. And I think within 3 or 4 weeks of getting to know them, and we had like a translator who would come along for the meetings as well. And, they would translate and tell us about their stories and tell us what they've been through and what is it that they really need. Like even in terms of a job, like the women didn't know what they wanted, because they're so new to this American culture that if you don't know the culture, you don't know what would be like the
how to apply yourself in it.
And how do you get your first job?
Yeah.
So like a lot of things were very new for them. And I think they just felt safer being at home and not doing anything. But at the same time, they were desperate,
So what was your path as an entrepreneur in that field? Like, how did you put it together? How did you decide, okay, we're going to do it? Like, how did you, I'm curious, because I am trying to start something not exactly like that, but I am trying to figure out how to create social impact with this little piece that I'm creating.
Right. So
I'm curious, how did you put the things together, like the funding and the distribution and all of that?
So at that time, I was working with a stylist, and I kind of came up with the idea because I didn't want to continue working at that job for too long, and I knew that I wanted to do something on my own. So I was I had that at the back of my mind, and I knew that I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what exactly. But the more I kept talking and having these conversations with these women, I realized that, after I think a few weeks, the group just kept getting smaller and smaller, and I realized that the women were not coming because that group was not their priority. Like, it wasn't important for them to come there and get to know one another as much as it was important for them to like find a job or just do something meaningful. Like they were like, I don't think this is the time for us to like make friends, while we don't have jobs or we need to like support our kids. So those conversations actually led to, I was like, oh, okay, why don't we just try making a couple of samples and like figuring it out, So we started by making just 2 or 3 designs, which we still have on our website actually, because those do really well. So we came up with like 3 designs, and we, I got like plain basic white t-shirts, and we started like hand embroidering them. So we did the samples, and then I started distributing those samples just to all my friends, and started getting like feedback in terms of, what do you think of the artwork? Is it something that you would wear and walk around? Like, what were people's reactions to those t-shirts? And then I had this really sweet friend. I mean, I still have her. She's a photographer, and she was more than happy to just shoot that entire collection for me. Just like 3 t-shirts, and we did a photo shoot, and just started an Instagram page. We started doing markets, a lot of markets where people would come and buy the t-shirts. So it was a really slow process. Like, I think we were just selling it to people who would come for the markets, and then we had them sign up to our mailing list. So we kind of like grew very organically. And then, I started sending them like monthly newsletters, and we started like, Instagram is like is a really huge platform for us, and even sending out newsletters. And at that time, I think because we were doing so many markets, like now we stopped doing them because of COVID, but like when you do a market, you have at least 3,000 people in a day, like, or on a weekend, walking through those doors. So at any given point, you can make, like, you land up meeting at least 500 people. So on the weekend, which was great for us, like we would get so many people to like sign up to our mailing list, till today we are in touch with each and every one of them, and a lot of them are return customers for us. So we grew really organically, and it was me constantly just, I had their stories put up, on a little, like we had brochures, we had, postcards, we had our business cards. We did it in a way where, we were constantly putting those women in the forefront, and whether it was like 5 people who walked into the door or whether it was like 100 people, like I repeated the same story over and over again, like I told them about the women, I told them about how we started. I told them about the process of hand embroidery. I told them about the artwork. So they got a sense of exactly what we were doing, and a lot of them connected with the brand in that way.
I personally connected through the artwork because I thought it was so bold, and it was, it's feminine, but it's strong. I don't know. There's always, I'm always intrigued by the reaction of people to nudity. And I don't know, have you been following the news? Did you see that woman that she got called Naked Athena?
Yeah, the one in Portland, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that image, the image of your artwork popped up in my head too, because it's kind of like putting it in front there and making people deal with it, kind of.
And I think, and when we started this also, there was something in my head kept telling me that this issue, this global crisis, is not going anywhere. It's only going to keep getting worse. And it's just like getting worse. And I feel what happens is that when something is not going to get better, and it's just going to be there. It's affecting so many people's lives, but for the ones who are not getting affected by it, it's very easy for them to forget about it.
Yes.
So I think that was another thing that really made me think about, what is it that you want to put on the t-shirts? And we realized very quickly that the artwork was more a conversation starter, talking about, women's rights, and the fact that it was hand embroidered and not just a print was an additional conversation starter for people to talk about, how time consuming it is, what kind of women can do that kind of work, and and how it's, very therapeutic for a lot of women to hand embroider stuff. So it all became like this conversational piece, and I knew that I wanted that, so I knew that the artwork had to be bold and people had to look at it and, talk about it as women's rights, women who are financially on their path to being financially independent by hand embroidering t-shirts, and those t-shirts mean something to the ones who have hand embroidered them. So it's like for anyone who's like buying it, they need to, they immediately understand that, the hand embroidery and the artwork on a t-shirt is representative of the women who are hand embroidering it and how it's going to change their lives.
And I have a question just kind of for me, because I'm trying to, get the podcast out and I'm trying to figure out the audience. And I have and we're kind of dealing with a similar, audiences here. And I'm not, I can't say worried, but I have this feeling that maybe, as you said, like somebody who's not directly affected might not care. So I have a feeling that somebody who was, born and raised in the States wouldn't want to hear the stories. Do you feel that?
Yeah, it's, and it was also a test for us when we did these markets where a lot of people would walk into our store and, they would just make a face and walk by, so they would see like nudity on t-shirts and they'd be like, I'm not going to enter this booth. And that, for me, I was just like, okay, so you're not a customer. And
of course,
it's true. It's like, if I'm selling just a basic t-shirt with nothing on it, 100 people will buy that t-shirt, but out of those 100, maybe only 15 will buy my t-shirt. Right. But like, it's, at least I know that the product that I'm making is not boring. And
definitely not.
And it's see, the audience is always going to grow because there's so many people in this world and you have to have that outreach. But literally, even with your podcast, it's just a matter of someone important listening to it and being affected by it and like turning around and saying, hey, like, this is amazing, and then everyone's going to be like, oh, wow, that is amazing. We should listen to it. It's like my t-shirt, it's like right now, people who are buying it are passionate about what we are doing. They understand what we are doing and they want to be involved. And that's why they are buying from us. And they want to wear the t-shirt and talk about the artwork and spread the word. So they're wearing it. Tomorrow is, if a celebrity wears our t-shirt, that's all we need, to like have from 15 people to like thousands of people buying it. Yeah. So I think it's all about like changing people's mentality and changing people's, you just have to keep doing what you're doing if you believe in it.
Right.
And, like the right people will listen to it and the right people will buy it. Right. Definitely our market is much smaller than what, a regular solid white t-shirt would sell.
Well, the thing is, my question is, maybe I didn't word it quite right, but the thing is, the immigration conversation is not just the conversation between immigrants, because it has to be the conversation with people
Right.
who are from here. So the whole point of my podcast is somehow to move the conversation.
Right.
But the fear is with my thing, and I don't know if you have a similar fear with your thing, is that people who are not directly affected, who are not immigrants or children of immigrants or spouses of immigrants, are not going to care to hear.
But I feel times are changing, and it is also such a complicated process. Like when I tell people about the H-1B visa or a green card, they know what a green card is, but they don't truly understand the process. And I get it, if you're born here,
Yeah.
you don't, like, for example, like me being born in India, I don't really understand what the immigration process for someone coming into the country is, and have I really taken the time to understand it and read up on it? Like, I only did that after I moved into this country, and I was like, oh my God, I wonder what it's like back home. So when you're living here, you don't really understand the process. But I feel like a lot of people now are more engaged and more concerned because they want everyone to have equal rights. So I feel like people are taking that extra effort to study and understand. Like, they might not know exactly what every country is going through individually to be a citizen of the United States, but I think they're very supportive, and they want to help, and they want to be engaged in ways in much more now than before. So I think that conversation is definitely up. Like, when I talk to my friends about it, now they do want to know, and now I feel like they know what the right questions are for them to ask, and they do ask me the right questions. But a lot of times, like, even it's a lot of learning, and it's a lot of, being exposed to what immigration really is and how it's really affecting people that are moving here. So it's both ways. I feel like even I've had to do the work to really understand what it is, for me to explain to people, how difficult it is, because it's not just me, it's like there's so many people that try and move here from different countries, and every country has their own separate rules.
And so with your company, right? It's not organization, it's a company.
It's a company,
yeah. So what is your next step? Like, how do you want to move it forward?
Like, how we want to grow. We want to definitely create more jobs for these women. So, and hopefully have, in-person workshops where, or even have a store where people can come and, we can create other opportunities for these women than just hand embroidering. Have a retail space where we can have different jobs for them, and maybe move the groups and have them in different states as well. Like, we would love to work with an organization in New York or in Seattle or in Chicago, that where we can have, displaced women and refugee women who can work from there, and we can just increase the boundaries.
And so how would that work? You would need somebody to start a group there, or you would partner with an organization and
partner with an organization. Yeah, we know of a few organizations, and we are constantly speaking with them and trying to figure out, how we can grow. And there are a lot of organizations there that would love to partner with us and have jobs, created for so many other women. But at the same time, the company needs to grow for that to happen.
Got it. I'm just trying to figure out what can happen for you. Maybe somebody, as you said, somebody hears it and somebody is like, oh, that's the thing that we should do.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. And we would also I don't know about a retail space anymore with this whole COVID thing, but we do want to have a retail space, a space where we can have other jobs for women as well. If they want to have a job in retail, if they want to have a job in production, behind the scenes, working with merchandise. So that was the plan initially, but with this whole COVID thing, I'm not really sure of what
Right.
retail. I don't know what direction retail is going in right now. I mean, so it's just safer for us to be online.
I mean, nobody knows where anything is going right now. So,
I know. It's so scary.
Hey, well, before we go, tell me where the name came from.
So Neococo was the name of a chieftain's wife in a tribe, and she was the strongest woman in the tribe.
I'm so glad I asked because in my head it had something to do with Coco Chanel.
No, I know. I've gotten that many
I'm
times.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. So,
Yeah.
which tribe?
So it's a tribe in Thailand. I remember watching this documentary years ago, and that's where I got the name from. So I'm not entirely sure, but I remember the name just stuck with me. And she was the strongest woman in the tribe, and I remember the documentary just had a lot of conversation about what she stood for the women in her community and how they all looked up to her. And that name just stuck with me, and I just had the name since.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
a cool story. Much better than Coco Chanel.
Yeah, not much better than Coco Chanel. Yeah, I don't know why people tend to spell it as Neo, like uppercase Neo, and then an uppercase Coco. So everyone, I don't know. I think there might be another company or something as Neococo. I don't know. I need to look it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but everyone spells it differently every time they
and
send
let's
me an
put
email.
the story up on the web about
Yeah.
Neococo strong lady.
Yeah, I need to.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll definitely. Yeah, it's interesting. I need to put it up on the website. Yeah, but a lot of people definitely ask me where the name came from.
It's a good name.
Yeah,
I love it. Do you have any other advice for other entrepreneurs who are thinking about starting a mission-driven business, a business that is focused on solving some issue or helping some issue?
I think the most important thing, you really just have to be passionate about the issue. Whatever it is that you want to solve, whatever the problem is, you need to be passionate about it. You need to understand it, and you need to, have empathy towards the people that are involved and being affected by that problem. That's about it. I mean, even with a product, it can be anything, but also pricing the product right is important. Understanding, whether a certain percentage is going, or are you a non-profit or a profit company? And there's nothing wrong with being a profit driven company. Just understanding how the profits or whatever part of the revenue that goes back into the company to make to resolve the problem, like how that is going in, and what are the problems that need to be resolved. So that's the important thing. But just be passionate about what you're trying to do. I mean, there's no point in doing something like that if you're not passionate about it. Your heart and soul will never be into it. It'll just become a pain in the butt to do it. Because I feel like once you start doing it, you realize that the problem is so much larger than just the making t-shirts.
Tell me more about it.
Yeah.
What was that for you?
Because it feels like having two different companies. It's not just like one company. It's like having two different branches under one roof.
What do you mean?
Because there's one aspect of it, which is like the product aspect of it, and the production and the t-shirts and the design. And the second is, where you are the social impact of the company. Where you're working with these women, where you're helping them. It's not just like money and okay, that's it. You're working with them, you're understanding what their requirements are, what their needs are for the moment. You're helping them meet those needs. So it's when it's like a social impact company, I feel like it's two businesses under one umbrella. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So so you have to like be wanting to run it in that way.
And how do you find the balance? How do you know what to push forward?
Because we meet with these women every week, so we are in constant conversation with them, and we know exactly what their needs and wants are.
And what do you mean, like what their needs and wants are? Like, how do you address it?
I mean, recently we had an issue with one of the women that works with us, and she's in need of a lawyer now because her son went through an issue, and anyway, so we needed to like help her with that, So even though she's working as an employee with us, it's like we do take that extra step, and we are like, okay, tell us exactly what we need, and then we'll reach out to our contacts and see how we can like help her, because she doesn't know anyone here in this country, so I feel like as women we need to be their voice and advocate for these women, especially when they don't know anyone and they are new to this country.
So basically, the company becomes a community for them.
Yeah. We're more a community. We are more a platform for them, that they can use than just a company where they are working.
What do they tell you about how they feel about doing this?
They love working with us. Yeah, like I think even the fact that it's hand embroidery and they're working from home, it's easy for them to be at home and work from home because they don't need to like commute anywhere. They have more control over. They have more time to work, and it gives them a balance between work and home. Things going on at home, and they love it. It's also a way for them to like escape. It's like it's very therapeutic for them. And every time if they need anything, they just like pick up the phone and they'll call me and they'll let me know if something's going on. And we're always there to like listen to them and help them in whatever way they need. And like I think like over a period of time also we've built relationships with all these organizations, and a lot of these women have been introduced to us through the organization. So we'll always work alongside with the organization and be like, hey, like I'll send out a email blast and be like, hey, we are looking for a lawyer for so and so. Is there anyone who knows someone? And they'll always like respond back. There are a few of our clients as well who've reached out to me personally, and they're like, if you ever need anything, just give us a call and let us know. So I have like a separate email blast that goes out to these women, and someone will like step in and say like, hey, we're more than happy to like help. Why don't you direct her to so and so? So it becomes like a community space and a safe space for these women. And for me as well, because then I know that there are certain people that I can trust and help them like resolve issues without making it like a company thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that.
Yeah. Wow.
So it is. So, I mean, it's only if you're passionate about something like that, would you be willing to...
It's just such a different way of conducting business.
Yeah, it is.
Because, we live in the States, and there's this, movement right now to get people minimum wage.
Yeah.
And you're taking on, getting lawyers for your employees and helping with resolving like their, I don't know what else, what kind of other problems you're helping them with. But it's just such a, like what I'm getting at is it's just such a different approach at it. And I don't know if this approach would ever, if it's scalable.
I don't know, and that is definitely something that really scares me. And I don't know if it is, but I enjoy doing it. And, I know that, and I feel that I'm doing the right thing. So I'm just going to like...
Right.
keep doing it for as long as I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it.
mean, there's no point me thinking about it. It's like, even if there are two women whose lives I can change, like, I think I'll be happy with it.
I love your idea. I love the way you're doing business. I think that this is a beautiful contribution. And I hope there's more businesses like that and who think that way. And I think maybe we're headed that direction.
Yeah, I definitely think we are. I have a lot of friends who have small businesses, and I've been lucky to meet with them, in the last couple of years that I've started my own. And it's really inspiring to have conversations with them and to really understand what the future of fashion really means to them. In terms of, like, they are talking sustainability. They're not just using it as, like, trendy words. They're really doing the work. And I think that's what it is. The small businesses have always been doing the work. The people just need to support small businesses, because when you support small businesses, the businesses will have a platform to showcase the work that they've been doing. But the principles are there, the foundation is right, and people need to support small businesses because they're definitely doing the work.
So how can people support your business?
So people can go to our website, neococo.com, and all our products are on the website. The stories of all the women that have worked on our products are on the website. So they can subscribe and join our subscriber list and become part of the community. They can also follow us on Instagram at neococo_tribe. And we have daily updates on what we are doing, new products that are launching, and everything is up on the website.
Awesome. Thanks. This is great. I love it.
Thanks, Sasha.
Thank you, Amrita.
This was fun.
All the best to your business, and I hope it changes the world.
Yes, I hope so. It will. All good things.
Yes, it does already. In small ways.
In small ways, yeah.
And it will. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And all the best with this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Take care. Bye.
Bye. That's it for today. Tune in for a new story next week. This week's episodes were edited and mixed by Damian Rowley. And as always, we thank Ben Bostick for allowing us to use his song, My Country. Please subscribe wherever you're listening. Leave us a review. It really helps to move the podcast up in the algorithms of those apps and make it more visible. Even a couple words make a difference, or just a couple stars or 5 stars, whatever you feel like. Any number of stars is better than no stars at all. And then go straight to Neococo website, neococo.com, and get a mask or a shirt. Then follow us on social media, leave us a comment, and let us know what you think about all of this. And that's a lot of homework for you. Thank you for listening. And remember, we're here to stay. We'll find our way. Love you all.
Country, you can keep the rest. This is my country, my damn country, and it don't mean a thing.